Hello, everybody. On today's episode, we are joined by Adam Parker, a leading detox coach and educator who's on a mission to help 1 million people safely and naturally clear toxins from their bodies and raise their vitality. Adam's work spans parasites, heavy metals, blue light, PFAs, and the often overlooked role of the liver in overall health.
Adam, thank you so much for being here with us today. So let's get into it. Can you tell us a bit more about your journey and what led you into the world of detox?
Thank you guys for inviting me on. Love the studio. It's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Love it. Love the energy. So my journey started, it's coming up to 11 years ago now. And it's funny how you reflect back. It's a blessing now. But when it happened, it was like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. So around 30 years old, I started getting certain symptoms. Well, really, when the Steve Jobs quote, you connect the dots back, and I had symptoms for a long time, even in my 20s. But when I hit 30, it really kind of came to a kind of a head. And I was getting really bad digestive issues. So I was slowly just reducing the foods that I could eat slowly over time. Like, okay, I used to eat that food. Now I can't eat it. So I just remove it. My anxiety started to just slowly creep up, which was really difficult at the time because I was in sales. So like it was my job to, be out kind of socializing. So that got really difficult. But weirdly, I could kind of cope with those things, and you'd find strategies to kind of meander around it. Really, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when my hormones tanked. Overnight, my hormones, I basically ended up having the testosterone of an 80-year-old. And at the time, I just thought, I used to, obviously being that age, I had an interest in women, and then all of a sudden that was gone. Then I wasn't putting on muscle as much. And then, so I had blood tests, and it was like, yeah, your testosterone is pretty low. So that was really what got me to start looking into what was going on, because with that, it kind of took my identity away because, I didn't, my personality changed. So that was the start. And really it was a 5-year journey of trying to figure it out. So I first went to what I knew, what I was conditioned to do, go to the doctors. And even then I knew their solutions weren't really going to move the needle for me. It was, so something I didn't mention, I was having like bald patches in my head.
Okay.
So again, it was like, okay, cool. I just shave my head and people can't notice, right? So it's like, take steroid cream for that. And then for the anxiety, take some pills. I think it was like some antidepressants at a really low dose. And I was like, okay, I won't do the pills, but I'll take the cream. And then from that, I got into functional medicine and then biohacking. And basically, I was at a lovely point in my life where I was earning a decent living, working corporate, didn't have any dependents. So I was like, right, I'm just going to throw all I've got into this problem. So I learned a lot, worked with many practitioners. And the turning point was when I started looking at detox and maybe the liver. The liver's might be something to look into, because again, you got all this list of things you could look at, and it's like, well, which one do I do? And I did a liver cleanse, and I just felt that extra 2% better. And I was like, interesting. And then just intuition kind of led me to it. And that was really what got me back to baseline. And then I just kept on doing these practices, and then really, started to reverse aging. But what was interesting, it wasn't just detox, because that's not reality. I had my sleep dialed in. I had my nutrition dialed in. I was like, I've got everything dialed in. I'm sitting in front of a red light every day. I'm jumping in an ice bath, and they're giving me marginal gains. And actually, what I've come to realize is there are many pillars to health. And the pillar of cleansing or detox is something that really we have to have some knowledge on today, because the amount of toxins we're exposed to, depending on your constitution, it's not if but when you'll start to experience symptoms. So really it was doing everything and then seeing marginal gains. And then when I focused in on detox, everything just started to unravel really quickly. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then got back, and then I just kept going. And then, started feeling even better, and loads of things happened just in terms of how I felt. Something that I never really talk about in my social media is, I think we're all given innate gifts to have a connection to more than just the physical. And it's funny, when I take people through my process, they're like, I feel a bit more connected to something bigger. And I'm like, yeah, because I think it opens up a portal for that, because I think we're given all of these gifts, intuition. And when you cleanse, it's like you can receive that energy. So that kind of happened as well, which is really interesting. Yeah, so that in a nutshell, that's what happened. And from getting myself back, I then would just go into normal life and see people going through certain experiences. And I was like, right, do X, Y, and Z. And then I was just led to then just start teaching it because I'd worked it all out really with a bit of luck and, working off other people that I took a bit from each individual I worked with over the years. And then, and then today I teach people that process that I've built and help them, learn how to detox. Because really they're getting better, but I'm teaching you life skills, because this is not like, oh, I've done a detox and off I go on my jolly way. It's like, no, I'm going to teach you skills that you'll keep with you. And hopefully they can teach their kids. And yeah.
I love that. So for those who don't really know, or we all kind of have a level of understanding what detoxing means, but what do you think detox actually means?
Yeah. So we're detoxing all the time.
Okay.
Sweating, peeing, pooping, respiration. The body is a self-healing mechanism. It's always looking for homeostasis. So we're detoxing all the time. So sometimes I hear, I get some of the feedback in the DMs or on posts, you don't need this. We're detoxing already. And I'm like, yes, we absolutely are.
We've heard that a number of times.
Yeah.
Here's the mismatch. We're not living in a time where our biology is wired to thrive. So if you think our hunter-gatherer ancestors, they were living barefoot, living with the light cycles. They were eating seasonally, eating locally. They didn't have all of these different chemical exposures, didn't have EMFs. So we're living in a very alien environment to what we're used to. And the amount of toxins in the environment today is crazy. Over 80,000 chemicals released in the last 50 years. Heavy metals, like 3 billion tons of heavy metals are mined every single year. EMFs, we're drowning in them right now, but we're doing this for a reason. We're serving. So we live in a very different time. And ultimately, there's more toxins coming in than leaving the body. We're going to have a build-up. And when we have a build-up, the body can't function as it's meant to function. So really, it's like, okay, we are naturally detoxing, but with the conditions that we're in, if we just promote that process, we're just aiding the body, essentially. So detox is happening all the time. But when we think about it, like it's like, what are the connotations of detox? Some people think, oh, it's not drinking in January, or it's, buying one of those green smoothie programs from online. So everyone has their own beliefs around what it is, but we're doing it all the time naturally. And really, my process is let's promote that so the body can function. Because again, the body knows what to do when given the right conditions. So if the body's clean and functioning, it will work better and we'll feel better. So yeah, it's just aiding what we know what to do, or the body knows what to do naturally.
And where should someone start if they want to start detoxing?
It's a great question. So it's funny, I was interviewed a couple of weeks ago around microplastics, because again, you think about the kind of the headlines that, we get these headlines of microplastics or forever chemicals. And I would love to give the quick, do this and everything will be fine. And really it's a process. So when I say, where do you start? You just have to start with looking at your external environment, because your external environment will mimic your internal environment. So if you're toxic internally from a buildup of toxins, you're getting them from your environment, from the food you're eating, the water you're drinking, the personal care products you're using, how you're storing your food, how you're cooking your food. Look at that first, because ultimately, if you clean that up, that's going to aid you in cleaning yourself up. Because again, the body's always detoxing, and if it doesn't have to be coping with the bombardment of toxins coming in, that's the first port of call. And all of these things are 1 or 2%. Like, it's all about the compound effect for me. There's no one thing that is going to get you healthy with detox or better. And there's no one thing that got you sick. It might, you'll have someone on talking about EMFs, and they're really bad, but it's not just the EMFs. It's the chemicals, it's the heavy metals, it's the stress, it's emotional trauma. There's a lot of stuff.
It's an accumulation of
gets you
everything. Yeah.
But on the flip side, there's not just one thing that's going to get you out of being unwell. So there's many things. So when I look at your external environment, they're all 1 or 2% kind of improvements that compound. So if you start having cleaner water, you fix your diet, you start having minerals, which is huge. They're all 1 or 2% gains. And then you do that consistently. That's when we get the compound effect. So first thing is to look at your external environment, look to clean that out. And the good thing is, when we look at personal care products, and they can take time because we get used to certain things that we love, but there are so many good challenger brands today. Just go on Amazon.
Yeah.
I was saying before we press record, I don't have Amazon now in Portugal. I'm lacking that fix. But there's loads of healthier alternatives
Yeah.
today that can, give you what you need. And that can take time, getting a good conditioner or whatever you need. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing I would also say is really important is minerals.
So minerals in water.
Yeah, or minerals in anything.
Yeah.
So
Or trace
minerals.
Okay.
So minerals are the spark plug of our metabolism, and we run off minerals. And if we don't have them, we have dysfunction. And the challenge is, even if you're eating organic, having all the best supplements, you're going to be mineral deficient for many reasons. There's no one reason. Our food isn't, so the soil's depleted. That means the food's not as nutritious. So even if we're eating organic, we're not getting what we need. Number one. Secondly, we're stressed more. Notifications, X, Y, and Z. There's more toxins. There's more. So with the increase in heavy metals bind to cell receptor sites in the cell. I had a really crazy stat recently. Imperial College London did a stat on the modern car. So like not a Tesla, but a carbon exhaust. And the particle pollution coming off the tyre wear is 2,000 times more than out of the exhaust. Tyres are made of petroleum release heavy metal. So we have this smog of heavy metals that we're breathing in, and we breathe in 11,000 litres of air every single day. So again, this is not to scare, it's just to kind of bring awareness of, even if we're doing the really healthy diet, we're still getting this overexposure. So when we have more minerals, just having more minerals, you will kick out those heavy metals, and you're giving your body really the spark plug to work. And just that alone is tremendously beneficial, because another stat, I don't know where it's from, but I heard it on a podcast yesterday. I was like, oh, I'm going to use that. It was 90% of Americans only have 40% of their mineral needs. So they're 60% deficient in minerals. Just the average American. So obviously, probably the average Brit as well. So just adding in more minerals can be a game changer for people.
I remember seeing a holistic dentist a few years ago, and she said if people can start anywhere, it would be to add minerals. And she said you will see it's almost like everything else won't be able to work as well if you are mineral deficient. So which minerals would you recommend for people to take?
So there's many ways to get minerals. So if you're going to give me the supplement, I would say,
just for listeners who,
Aussie Trace Minerals is my go-to brand.
Okay.
Ironically, they're a Canadian company, but it's trace minerals from the South Australian Sea. I swear by them. I get all my clients on Aussie Trace Minerals, but then you can get it from unrefined sea salts. I'm really, the way I approach health is as traditional as possible. So I'm a big advocate of the GAPS diets. Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, she's amazing. So I'm getting clients to make meat stock full of minerals. So cooking bones. You can do Epsom salt baths or buy Dead Sea minerals. So there's many ways to get minerals. But I feel we have to be proactive with it, because here's the thing: if the body doesn't need them, the body will just dispose of them.
So you can't almost overdo. I'm sure you can, but
you can with if you get trace minerals, they're quite high magnesium. So if you have too much magnesium, you might get the runs. Okay. But that's the worst thing that can happen.
They don't taste that nice either. You can't,
I'd mix them in with other things though sometimes.
Yeah.
So even when
just in the water.
So for example, I would have my liposomal vitamin C.
Yeah.
I mix that with water and add a few drops. And then you don't taste.
But what I mean is, it's fine, but when you're overdoing it, because then it tastes not very nice.
Well, weirdly, your taste buds will adjust.
Okay.
Because the very first time I took trace minerals, I was like, oh my goodness, this is different. But then you can. There's many ways you can make it nice. You can add in apple cider vinegar, lemon.
Nice.
There's minerals in there. So there's many ways to get access to minerals. Obviously, just eating more organic food. Because for example, if you eat processed food, so if you eat an apple, it has all the enzyme and cofactors and minerals in the food to process the food. Whereas if you had junk food, which we all do, and I'm not saying you have to live this holier than thou life, you don't. But when you have some processed food, it's deficient in the minerals it needs to process that food. So when you eat it, you will pull minerals out of storage to process that food.
Of course.
So that's why when we eat organic and we eat whole foods, we get the minerals needed to break the food down. So many ways to get minerals in the diet, but I think a lot of people's issues are just mineral deficient from the get-go. Amongst other things like poor gut health, etc. But just adding in minerals. I had a friend, it's funny because I have my old life before I was into detox coaching. So I see old friends, and I had a friend and he was like, mate, I had a spoonful of salt before a football match and I got man of the match. My energy just went through the roof. And it was like this big kind of aha moment for him. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's got minerals in
Yeah.
and obviously it's what you needed.
Also, it's mad, isn't it? I know table salt is obviously very different, but it's mad that we've been conditioned, I know in our generation, to stay away from salt.
Yeah.
Salt is bad.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think it's really good that it's,
It's a funny thing when you,
because even salt, I feel like there's so many different stories, aren't there? Like I hear sometimes that Himalayan salt is bad. Like there's been stories from both sides. So which salt in particular would you recommend as well?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because when you kind of get into the health awareness space, you realize, oh, okay, table salt's bad. So then it's unrefined sea salt.
Yeah.
But then as we get into these really niche kind of pockets of audiences, then it's like, what's the next hit thing?
Yeah.
So recently there was certain salts are full of heavy metals. That was the kind of narrative.
Yeah.
And my take on it is like everything's got some element of toxicity to it.
Okay.
So I don't really overthink it. However, I love a brand called Oryx salts. They're from Africa. But in general, if you're having an unrefined sea salt over a table salt, that's the win, because table salt is just stripped away of any minerals and it's just sodium. So we can get into the minutia on these things, but ultimately I think that can distract. If you're getting a good unrefined sea salt and it resonates with you, I would stick with it.
Okay.
And as you build awareness, you might want to change, because here's the thing, you don't have to stick with one salt forever. There's so many great salt brands now that are creating the strong identities. So just have an unrefined sea salt, add it to your food, add it to your water, have it on a tablespoon if you're about to play a football match. Might help you.
Okay, amazing. So can I ask, what role do the liver and lymphatic system play in daily toxin elimination? So I know you focus on these a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So if you think, how do toxins leave the body? So we have something called the detox pathway. Goes from the colon to the liver, to the lymph, to the organs, to the cells. And the body's naturally trying to get toxins out of the body all the time. What can happen, that pathway can get congested. And actually when it does, that's when we start to get skin issues, because if the liver's congested and the lymph sluggish, the body will intuitively push things out through the skin. So if ever I work with someone and they're like, I've got a skin problem, I'm like, well, you've got a liver problem because your liver's congested.
Wow.
And what was it? I think 25% of Americans have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So that used to be a thing. So liver disease was basically for alcoholics. And now we've got non-alcoholic fatty liver. So people who are living normal lives are getting fatty liver. I flew to...
Is that because of toxin exposure?
100%. So I flew to Florida last year. I spoke at the Western A Price Conference. It was
you
amazing.
didn't?
Yeah. It was cool.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Met Sally Fallon.
No.
Holistic Hill.
Do you know, we were emailing about her coming on and then the email just run cold, but she's like
She's amazing. Yeah, she's been on my show. She's just amazing. And her book, Nourishing Traditions, built industries, built bone broth industry, built fermentation industry. It's crazy.
I recommend that to every single pregnant woman out there. That book is an absolute
It's
must.
amazing. Yeah. So on the flight over, obviously it was in Florida, which is cool, because I did pop to Disney World, I must admit. I popped there and had a look. And I'm on the flight and there's an old couple next to me and they've got the whole families on the plane, like, children, grandchildren. And I was chatting to the lady and I was like, yeah, I'm a health coach. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like, it's really interesting. I don't drink and I don't smoke, but the doctor says I've got fatty liver. And she's like, I don't know why, and I said, and I had to explain to her, listen, that playbook worked 10, 20 years ago, but now we have this association with alcohol and smoking being bad and junk food being bad, but we're exposed to so much more today. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what are you cooking your food in? What's your cosmetics? What are you drinking out of? Those things have chronic exposures over time that build up and can cause these things like fatty liver. So that's the kind of paradigm shift, especially with our parents' generation, because, I think about all the stuff I've got to teach my son in the world that we now live in. So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is quite common today. And really the condition that we live in, our bodies are being bombarded with these man-made toxins, or by definition, they're toxicants. They cause mitochondrial dysfunction. So the body, the powerhouse of the cell, we have less energy. As the body takes on these toxins, the body doesn't know what to do with them, because I don't recognize this. My hunter-gatherer DNA wiring is I don't know what to do with this sort of stuff. So the body will siphon these toxins into storage, because the body would rather survive than thrive. So get these toxins out of the blood, store them in fat tissue, and eventually store them in organs, and the organs and the lymph and things accumulate. So we get fatty liver, we get these congested livers, and everything just starts to back up over time. So really, I focus on, once we've got the basics done, I call them the daily detox disciplines, fixing your external environment, having minerals, binders as well, really important. Then we got to optimize your detox pathways. So decongesting the liver, getting the lymph moving. Because once that's flowing and we're pooping every day, really important, then the body is at a better detox capacity. And then through the innate intelligence of the body will detox. Because actually, I think when we go down the supplements route, and supplements are needed, we're logically thinking, I'm low in this, I must supplement in that. And what I've learned and what I've had to accept, because my kind of, logical masculine mind is like, do this and get this result. I've realized over time that the body's divine intelligence, you give it what it needs, it will do what it needs to do in the order it wants to do it. Don't try force it. Don't force it. It will, when it's ready, you've got the nervous system in a good place, it will then let go of things,
So what can people do to support their liver?
Many things.
Okay.
So there's many levels of liver cleansing.
Yeah.
So at the top of the tree, there's liver flushing.
Yes.
So we'll build up to that. So
Okay.
what could you do to start? You could start just by cleaning up your diet.
Yeah.
Having bitter foods before meals. Apple cider vinegar is amazing. The brand here in the UK is Willie's. It's fantastic. Don't go near Bragg's. It's been taken over by the bigs.
Has it?
Yeah, don't go near Bragg's.
Okay,
It's not the same.
interesting.
It's sad because it's an amazing,
Yeah.
iconic brand, but it's been taken over. We can have more bitter foods. We can do certain types of supplementation. So roasted dandelion root tea is amazing for the liver. And then we can start to move up. So castor oil packs.
Yes.
Castor oil is very powerful. I mean, castor oil is used for so many things, but you can have a castor oil pack on your liver.
We love them.
That's really nice, and it's you can do it whilst you're watching telly. You can go to bed
Sleep
with it.
them. Yeah.
Very powerful, and that's a healing solvent that will, again. So we have these fat soluble toxins that are lipophilic, they're fat attracted, and when you have these healing solvents like castor oil, DMSO, turpentine, they essentially start to break down those chemicals trapped in the fat to get them out of the body. That's essentially because they get trapped in there, and so that's what castor oil does. So castor oil's great. The next level up, you could do coffee enemas, which are, I do a coffee enema once a week.
So that's good for the liver.
Great for the liver.
Okay.
Enemas are great, full stop.
Yeah.
But a coffee enema is a retention enema. So firstly, it's not just your standard Starbucks coffee, first and foremost.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's particular coffee that's roasted in a certain way. It's void of any toxins or molds.
Mhm.
Are there any in particular you would recommend?
There's a really good brand on Amazon UK. Just type, and it's like £10 a bag.
So what would
Okay.
people search? Only because I
Coffee
know.
enema coffee,
Okay.
and it'll come up. It's in a white bag with
So you
green.
want organic, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's
mold-free.
it's the whole thing. So it's
Okay.
basically you need to look for Gerson approved. So Gerson's
Right,
done.
okay.
Yeah.
And you brew the coffee. It doesn't look like coffee. Doesn't taste like coffee. It's like quite sweet and light. And you retain that for about 10 to 20 minutes. Now, what does that do? When caffeine and palmatic acid, which is in coffee, is in the large intestine, in the colon, it stimulates the hepatic portal vein, which is a vein that goes all the way up your body. And that will communicate to your gallbladder and liver to start to release bile. And bile does so many things in the body, but one of the things it does, it transports. So the liver breaks down fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble toxins, puts them into bile, and the bile takes it to the large intestine to then form stool, and we poop that out. So when we do a coffee enema, it's stimulating the liver. So you're lying there and you can hear like this gurgling. It's the liver going like kind of churning, releasing that bile to be pushed into the small intestine, then large intestine. Then 20 minutes later, you'll release and let it all go.
So it's been a number of years. We have done coffee enemas, but
Yeah.
a while ago we did them. And then I've more recently done distilled water enemas.
Yeah.
But there's this kind of noise, or there was this noise around coffee enemas not being that good for you. So I'm just interested on your take, because I think that kind of got into my head a little bit. You know, when you hear
It's really
something-
difficult, isn't it? When you've
Yeah.
heard and something resonates with you, and then you say it's noise. There's
Yeah.
always a conflicting
Yeah.
argument
Yep.
on the internet for
Yeah.
everything, isn't there? So
you'll get that for coffee enemas, liver cleansing, sauna. Like there's always, and I think the world we live in, we're looking for the next viral thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we are wired to look for things to avoid and things, we're looking for safety.
Yeah.
We'd rather avoid pain than seek pleasure. Well, that's the wiring.
Right.
So there are, like, you can find people saying coffee enemas, like, I mean, literally, you go on YouTube, there'll be people, like these doctors they put scrubs on, and or you'll find like an old news article, and they'll allude to, you'll die if you have a coffee enema. Literally, they'll allude to it.
Wow.
So that makes it difficult for people because we're, to some degree, we're wired to seek guidance from figures of authority, and it can be difficult to navigate. Now, again, we're also wired to look at the studies. I think studies are relevant, but at the same time, can you avoid testimony and tradition and culture and different cultures doing things for generations? There's no study on it, right? Fermented food, there are studies on fermented food, but they've been doing things for a long, long time. There's got to be some relevance in that. Now, coffee enemas have been happening for about 100 years.
Yeah.
There are studies on coffee enemas from South America.
Right.
They were used in South American hospitals before the big pharma system took over. To your point, yes, there is always arguments for and arguments against. And really, does it land with you?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, if it doesn't land with you and you don't believe it can help, it's probably not going to help. It's finding that I've done enough research to think this is something I resonate with, and then finding someone or a community that can support you in that process. So, I'll say for me, I've been doing coffee enemas for 10 years, once a week.
I mean, you look really well.
Yeah, you do.
Like, I feel like the proof is in the pudding. Your vitality, your energy,
Thank you.
And
it's again, it works for me. And if it doesn't resonate with someone, I'm not going to push anyone to do anything. It's like, if it doesn't.
But you'd always choose coffee enemas over like a distilled water enema.
So
I guess
there are enemas for every day of the year. I mean, you could do chamomile enemas.
Oh, really?
You could do meat stock enemas. You can do
what?
Like bone broth or something.
Yeah. You can do. I mean, you can.
Okay, I haven't heard of that, but yeah.
So no, I still do water enemas, and actually when I work with people, I say to them, do a water enema first
to get
and then
clear the
build it
pipes.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in order to get maximum, you want the caffeine to absorb into the hepatic portal vein.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So no, I water enemas, and I get people. That's the start point.
Okay.
And
then build up.
I mean, such a fantastic. I love this. This happened last week. I had a friend. He's another entrepreneur. So we're like entrepreneur friends, right? So it's funny as you kind of expand into new areas of growth. Like, new friends for me are just like either in the health and wellness game or like in the entrepreneurial game. And this guy was like, okay, I'll get into the detox thing. So I was like, buy these things, and I kind of didn't hear from him for a while. And I was like, when you're ready, you come to me and we'll chat. And he messaged me so I was in Portugal, messaged me saying, I'm really struggling with my digestion. Like, what can I do? Give me the fix. And I was like, okay. And it was interesting because, especially men, we don't want to really, and I said, listen, you have to, this is on the DMs, voice message. I said, just explain to me exactly what's going on. I know it's uncomfortable. Told me he was a bit constipated. And I was like, right, what do you have at your disposal? And he's like, I bought a couple of things you told me, but not everything. And he had an enema bag. I was like, great, you're doing a water enema today. And he's like,
it's probably where he did not want to start.
Yeah.
He was like, okay. But he was in such discomfort. I said, right. And I walked him through the process. I said, this is what you need to do. And I had to be graphic. I was like, got to lube things up and do, and I said, it's going to be fine. And the kind of the DM feeds after he did it, he was like, what the F is this? Like, I feel amazing. My headache's gone.
No, it becomes addictive.
He literally said, it's addictive. My headache's gone. What is this? This is amazing. I just feel lighter. And he was like, whatever you want me to do, I will do now. And that was the turning point for him.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely moment because I remember the first time I did an enema, and it's funny, it's not a natural thing to want to do.
No.
And I remember the resistance. I was like,
yeah,
I don't want to do this. And then I did it. I remember doing it nearly 10 years ago, and I kind of coming out the door, coming out the bathroom, my girlfriend, now wife, looking at me. She's like, was it? I was like, yeah, it was fine. Yeah. It was absolutely fine.
It's really not as bad as you anticipate, or that you think it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a great tool because, now my friends, he thought headaches, pills, or some.
Yeah, of course.
Honestly, you can remove a headache with doing a water enema.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't connect it like my colon with my head. But it's removing.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
And even, I know we've had experiences with children, but I know Natalie, with your daughter, sometimes when she can not go to the loo for a while, her mood will be impacted. Everything will happen. And then when she's been to the loo, she's like a different person. So if you think...
Yeah, she's got bowel problems. And she went 16 days without going to the toilet. But the distress it had on her, like, as you said.
So it makes sense to be able to clear that out.
And it's like an instant afterwards. It's like, oh my God.
Different child.
Hugely different.
I was at a christening and loads of family members were there. And I was chatting to one of my cousins, and we're good friends. And she got vulnerable. She's like, I have real bad constipation issues. And I said, let's talk about it. And she said, 20 years of issues.
Wow.
I was like, right, why didn't you tell me this?
Yeah.
So I got her, I was like, right, buy a water enema bag and buy minerals. And the enema bag's like the backstop I need to get this out. But just having minerals solved the problem for her. So now she just has, like, I got her to buy a water filter and trace minerals.
Is there a specific... Sorry, I always have to break it down.
So the water. So again, there's many different types of water. So how to purify water? There's many ways. You can distill, you can filter, reverse osmosis. Like a really good entry level is to buy a carbon filter. So like a Berkey. They're kind of hard to get now because they kind of went against the establishment and got taken down. But there's loads of Berkey equivalents online. So just a standard carbon filter. Get one of them and start having minerals. And that enough solved the problem. And I actually saw my cousin 2 days ago.
To add minerals to the water after you did...
That's it, Okay, and I saw her 2 days ago. So we had that conversation about 2 years ago. And she was just saying, that's not a problem in my life. I had this issue for 20 years and it's gone now. Because of just doing those simple switches.
Wow.
So again, as I said, those small like, it's not like take minerals and my life is like improved and everything's great. It's one of the things that adds to the... So again, you got to fix your sleep. You got to fix your diet. There's all of these things and they all add and compound over time. You know?
So you do the minerals, you do weekly coffee enemas. And what else do you do to kind of like detox yourself? So, like, what are your practices?
Because I feel we were working up as well, weren't we?
Oh,
Where we were up to, I feel like we've interrupted you off your...
That's all right. No,
so...
the
liver.
What are we up to? Yeah, to what the liver.
We've got the liver. We'll jump back to that. I just want to talk about other things I do daily.
Okay, perfect.
I have a daily binder.
Okay.
Is that charcoal, clay?
There are, again, binders for every day of the year. So many binders. So zeolite, charcoal, clay, citrus pectin.
These are what you take?
Not all of them in one go.
Okay.
But I've got like a whole list of, I've got like a cupboard of all these different clays and binders. But so binders they're all nature derived. So zeolite is a volcanic clay, for example. At their essence, they are negatively charged substances. And anything in the body that doesn't need to be there. So either toxins, so heavy metals, chemicals, also metabolic waste that we make, histamine, they all have a positive charge. So old school science, negative and positive attract. So when you have these binders, it will go in and grab things that the body will naturally have to process itself. So you're aiding in that process. So that helps with digestion, that helps lower the toxic burden. It can improve digestion. And depending on how much you take, depends on how much it goes after. So, you know, there are 3 layers of where toxins are: in the blood, then in the fat tissue, then in the organs. So if you're just taking a daily dose, it's just grabbing it out of the blood, keeping things moving. But if you start to high dose binders, then it will start to intuitively go into the deeper layers. So for me, I'm on maintenance. So I just do a nice dose just to keep things moving.
Of what? What's your go-to?
So my go-to right now is zeolite, a brand called Zeocharge, which I love. And I do 2 scoops of that in a pint of water upon waking. And then maybe, one in the afternoon, just depends. But that can be hugely impactful on so many levels. Just a real easy add-in. And yeah, detox isn't healing the body. It's creating the space for the body's self-healing mechanism to do its job. That's basically it. Because we know how to heal. You cut your finger, the body knows how to heal. But if you cut your finger, then go rock climbing and then go digging in the dirt, you're not creating the space. So it's like we know the body knows how to heal. Let's create the space for it to heal. Okay. So taking a daily binder is something I do every single day, along with minerals. So yeah, that's like daily stuff.
Nice.
And where were we up to when we were talking? Because I know we were building up,
liver,
weren't we?
Liver.
Yeah. So,
so
we went off, didn't we? We went off piece.
So supplements, castor oil, coffee enemas, and then liver flushing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again,
I'm doing one in a couple of weeks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So again, go on social media land and you'll have for and against.
Yeah.
And really it comes down to, if it resonates with you, do it. If it doesn't, don't do it. Now, I've done 150 plus liver flushes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, you don't need to do that much, first and foremost. That's the headline in like in the pre-roll.
How regular do you do them?
Sorry?
How regularly do you do them?
Me now, once every 3 months.
Okay.
As
like
maintenance.
quarterly. Okay,
but when I was on my kind of healing journey, I was
doing
I was going at them regularly.
Okay.
Now, you don't need to do that much. The reason I've done so much is because I teach this.
Yeah.
I'm like the mad scientist optimizing and trying things. So you don't need to do that much. So what is liver flushing? So essentially a process that was invented by, it's either Hulda Clark or Andreas Moritz. Again, people on the socials will defend either one. And essentially it's a process of removing the congestion from the liver. So we talked about all of these toxins. The body will start to accumulate toxins over time. And bile is what takes toxins out of the liver into the large intestine out of the body. Now, over time, the liver can get congested with so many toxins that the bile starts to encapsulate these toxins, gets congested, and basically the liver just becomes sluggish with this bile that is just completely saturated with toxins. And a lot of people who have digestive issues, it's not, we might not be able to eat certain foods, but the core of it's a liver issue. Because if you have low stomach acid, it's probably because you have poor bile flow. So it's like getting back to the root. So people are like, oh, I've got low stomach acid, take, apple cider vinegar. But if we get to the root of it, I think it's poor bile flow. So think of bile like the oil in a car. And when we do liver flushing, we are essentially removing that stagnant oil that comes out looking like stones. Now, again, there's arguments, are there stones or are they a mixture of the olive oil, etc.? My belief is it is essentially the bile that is in the liver. Most bile is in the liver. It's not in the gallbladder. It's just where it stores bile for a rainy day, but we produce up to a pint of bile a day. The bile gets basically sluggish. It gets congested. And really, when we do this process of drinking olive oil and lemon juice, we're purging the liver of this congested bile. And whether it comes out in nice little green stones or whether it comes out as sludge and then compacts in the large intestine and then we poop it out as green stones, I don't know. But what I do know is when we remove that congestion in the liver, everything starts to work better. Because now the liver's gone from 10% capacity of functioning to 20, to 30, and then eventually the liver's working as it should, and then everything starts to work better. The liver does over 500 different functions in the body, not just detox. So when the liver's working, everything works. So that's the gist of it. It's our livers are congested due to the modern condition that we're in. We cleanse the liver. The body then can start to detox better. Everything starts to work. Hormones work better. All that sort of stuff. Is the gist of it. Yeah.
I'm loving that.
Have you ever done a liver flush as your first one?
No, it'll be my first one.
Okay.
I did a parasite cleanse recently, last month, 6 weeks ago, and I was meant to do it towards the end of the parasite cleanse, but then I was poorly, and then we had so it's been so in 2 weeks, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let me know how you get on with that.
I will.
And again,
I'm nervous.
You'll be absolutely fine.
I've heard it can be quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you will. It's an aha moment when you see, because a lot of people think, I don't have these stones, and then they come out the next morning, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's the same with parasites as well.
No, well, I can believe that because I did not think I had anything questionable in my body, and I definitely did.
So again, people might get confused of, okay, there's parasites and there's stones and there's all these things.
Yeah.
To simplify why this stuff is in the body, it comes down to if our terrain is toxic from all of these toxins, the body will start to siphon things out and take them into storage. So either in the fat tissues and then in the organs, they'll start to build these stones and all these different things. So then where do these parasites come in? Well, parasites are, again, trying to help us. Even though they cause issues and we feel unwell, symptoms are actually kind of warning signals to be like, you got to fix something, please. So when we get liver issues, the body's trying to remove things out of circulation. The body would rather survive than thrive. And then parasites are actually there to help with that cleanup operation. So the bioremediators, they will start eating the heavy metals and the plastics and start hoarding them. So actually, in a weird way, they're trying to help us. But when they start to overgrow, they cause a whole host of issues. So actually, it's down to our terrain. So when we optimize the detox pathways, the parasites actually don't, they're there because it's like, this is pretty cool. I've got loads of foods. It's a nice environment, but actually we're ingesting worms. Like worms are in our produce. We can't avoid them. You know, you touch a doorknob, there's a worm on there. Like there's all these different parasites. So it's about cleaning the terrain of the body. And then once, you know, things are flowing and we start to detox, the body, they don't need to be there.
Okay.
But they're there because we kind of invite them in.
That was actually going to be the next question that we had for you was about parasites. How would people know if they had them? But I'm guessing we
all do.
Just do.
We all do. And again, parasites is an umbrella term. So parasites, it can be the worms. Again, social media, you see like, I saw like a bear with these worms hanging out its butt. And
I saw that.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I don't.
No, you don't. Someone sent it to me and they were like, you'll never eat salmon again.
Yeah, so that's again, it's like the shock headline kind of, you know, images. Or you know, there was, occasionally it hits mainstream. There was a lady, this was like 2 years ago, a lady in Australia was having brain surgery and they pull out a worm in her brain. Now again, it's head, and again, the mainstream narrative is, you go to a foreign country, a third world, and you pick them up. That's the narrative. Like we all have worms. We all have them. And so it's an umbrella term. So under parasites, you do have these worms, ropeworm, tapeworm, etc. Yeah. But then you also have candida, which we need in certain amounts, but it overgrows. And when it overgrows, it causes issue. Fungus, yeast, we need all of those it's part of our microbiota. We need them in certain volumes, but when we are overexposed to these toxins, they become imbalanced. And actually the candida is overgrowing because it's trying to bring you back to balance. It's trying to eat the stuff like that you've accumulated.
Let's say if you've got too much sugar, then it's only going to feed that, isn't it? So then
you'll
to
feed
get rid of it,
but it's there because it's trying to, you know, it's trying to balance things out. But in doing so, we feel terrible. Right. But the symptoms are actually the warning light to be like, hey, you got to fix something. Whereas we're conditioned to symptom I must eliminate. Give me the thing to get rid of it. And this was a big paradigm shift. It took me years to kind of accept this reality. And there'll be people listening today probably not there. So yeah, it's all of these things are there to help us in a way, but we feel really bad. And, you know, once we balance out the terrain, you know, and again, it's not just about cleaning the body, it's about living in an environment that promotes healthy living. So, you know, EMFs, if we're drowning in EMFs, that's not conducive to good living, you know. And again, that goes back to my daily detox disciplines. It's like you have to really focus on the amount of non-native electromagnetic fields you're being exposed to, because it adds to the whole picture. So when we're in harmony in our external environment and our internal environment, these parasites don't need to be there. The body doesn't accumulate as much. It still will, because we can't avoid it. Hence why when you go through a process that I take people through, then it's like now you're on maintenance, because you've learned these skills now, and now go forth, live your life, and have these things in the back pocket to use whenever you need to. Hence why I do a coffee enema once a week. It's my choice. I don't have to. I enjoy it. I've got a 2-year-old son, so it's like on a Sunday, it's like the hour where I'm allowed to disappear.
So is the cleanse that you do for heavy metals and parasites the same kind of makeup, I guess, with the binders and...
So everything's connected. So it's not like a siloed, this cleanse will do this. It's like if you start...
Like a merge.
So here's the thing, if you start taking more minerals, having distilled water or filtered water, you will be detoxing all of that naturally. So there's no like individual... You can do, for example, things that will promote more of a certain thing. So for example, we're all heavy metal toxic. And if you're like, I just want to focus on heavy metals, you can do things that will promote the proliferation of removing heavy metals more, like doing sauna protocols. So there's a infrared saunas are best, and you can do like the niacin flush protocol, where you take niacin and that helps proliferate these fat soluble toxicants. And So you can do the detox foot pads. There's loads of things you can do, but generally, if you're doing liver cleansing, all these different things help the body. The body knows it has to get rid of heavy metals, parasite. It knows. So we are promoting health and promoting getting back to balance, and the body will do what it needs to do. When I was going through my health journey, I started at labs testing like supplements, and I remember looking at this. Like I did this Dutch test where you pee on a stick for like all day, and then you get this results. And I was looking at these results, and obviously I said I had low testosterone, so I was looking, and it was like, right, okay, high estrogen makes sense, yin and yang, and it was saying so estrogen. I didn't realize there's E1, E2, E3. I was like, okay, that's interesting. So my E1 and E2 were okay. My E3 was sky high. And I'm like, try Googling how to lower E3. It's not, you won't find it. But again, the logical mind was, if I am high in this, or what do I supplement to lower? And I was in that game for a long time and didn't really get anywhere. But when I realized it's high for a reason, because the body's it's doing it, the body innate intelligence is doing something. But so when I focus on bringing the body back to balance, it went down and things balanced themselves out. So again, it was letting go of my kind of type A, I must control and this will solve it. And then when I just focused on giving the body what it needs, cleaning up my external environment, learning how to cook, learning how to heal the guts, everything just kind of fixed itself, which again blew my mind.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? What the body can do, really.
Yeah.
Are parasite cleanses safe for kids, and what's the best approach? What's the best way to approach them gently?
So we're in a really unique time where we're being born into toxicity, and kids are toxic, and we have to, in some cases, look to detox them. There was a study done by the Environmental Working Group, and this is in 2004, so this is like 21 years ago, and they studied the blood of the umbilical cords, and I think they tested for like 400 different chemicals, and I think it was like 280 were positive in the blood. So we're being born into toxicity. And again, it's just exponentially increasing. Now, again, that's to drive awareness. It's not to fit, because there are solutions. If you're into divine universal law, which I am, every problem has a solution. So there's always solutions. But it's to kind of highlight there's a lot of toxins that we're being exposed to. So I specifically don't focus on children, but there are things to Google or ChatGPT or kind of do your research on. There's loads of great people on the socials that focus on that. So I see people doing some zeolite sprays.
Yes, I've got those.
They're really good. So there's a brand called Touchstone PBX. They're great.
That's what I use,
You can look to do detox baths, which again, adults can do. But, if you look at nature, if you look at elephants in the wild, they'll have clay baths, and their favorite clay watering holes. And you think, oh, they're just playing in the clay. Or they intuitively know they have to roll around in clay because it's good for them. If you look at the work of Weston A. Price, who was a dentist who studied all these, they were called, back then in like 1930s, they were called primitives, right? The primitive tribes. And they all had some form of clay in their diets. Looking to have clay baths can be really nourishing as well. Then it's increasing the minerals. Again, minerals. Okay. So again, meat stock. Looking at a lot of children, again, we can only pass on to our children what we have. So if the mother has poor gut health, she'll pass on that to the child. So looking at the GAPS diets is a hugely beneficial for children and just general for the family. Meat stock, fermented foods, eating from farmers markets, like that stuff is health promoting. So there's many things. It's not just what detox can we do. It's like how are we eating? The EMF exposure to our children. So again, you see the studies of like a child's skull and the EMFs go straight through. So again, it's what's your kind of philosophy around technology in your house, because it all plays its role in overall health. So there's many things just beyond the detox. All of it helps. So I would say minerals, get on them straight away. And then again, looking at these influencers online that focus more on kind of child detox, which again, zeolite sprays are great. Detox baths are also great as well because they're very gentle. Bentonite clay, very gentle, or some Epsom salt in the bath.
And we touched a bit on toxins, and I just wondered what you think are the most dangerous toxins that are kind of in our homes. Yeah.
It's funny because I change my mind all the time. So one of the best books I've read in a long time is called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Firstenberg.
I've heard of
Such a good book
yeah.
because it's like story led and it's a big book. So I read that and I'm like, oh my God, it's EMFs. It's all about EMFs. But then I look at studies around all of these microplastics that endocrine disruptor, and I'm like, oh, it's the chemicals. And then I think I read studies on the amount of heavy metals. So I can't say there's one thing. What I can say is it's the world that we live in. It's kind of designed for us getting overexposed to these toxins. But the beauty of it is once you make some switches to how you live your life, it's so easy to avoid them. It's so easy.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not about being holier than thou and completely avoiding them. Like, will I go and buy a takeout coffee if I'm out? Yeah. I know there's BPAs in there.
I was just about to say we're drinking matches from,
I know, I'm aware, but I live a life where I'm always promoting bringing my body back to balance. So it's all about what resonates with you, because there will be people that are militant on, I don't go near anything. And that's what they resonate with. I'm not that type of character. I know what things do, have the awareness, and I will decide when to opt into these things because I know the changes and I have strategies.
We're like that, aren't we?
And it's like when you have the tools that you know that you can lean back on and utilize it.
And also I think there's an element of stress and control that can then contribute, because I have been quite militant before and I don't know how good that can be for you mentally as well, you know, so it works both ways. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's part of everyone's health journey. Like, it's like, I think the term orthorexic, where we're like so dialed in.
Exactly.
And I was there because I think when people being unwell and having anxiety, chronic health issues, digestive issues, what I tend to see is it's a very lonely road, because there's only so much bandwidth you've got with loved ones and friends. You feel a bit ashamed. You don't want to talk about it too much. You know, I've had clients that would say, oh, the guys are going skiing, but I'm not going to go, because if I go, I can see them for an afternoon, but if I go on a week, I'll be exposed and they'll see how sick I am.
Wow.
So there's that shame element to it. But then as you go through the process, the sicker you are, the more, if I'm really controlling and I don't eat these foods and it's a feeling of control, like I'm not completely to the mercy of this illness, right? Okay. So I had a time when I was getting up at like 6 and I was like red light, and then I was like supplements, and I had this route, and I was like in my mind, if I'm militant, I'll get better, and I didn't, because it was that stuff wasn't getting to the root cause. It's great. I mean, now if I do that stuff, it's amazing. But back then it was giving marginal gains. This kind of.
And it's hard socially as well, isn't it? It's like you'd have to restrict yourself. You can't eat out in the same way. It's difficult for you to turn situations down. Like I know people struggle not drinking around friends. So it's the kind of, you have to be able to.
And then, the friends I now make in my life are either entrepreneurs or in the health space, but I've got my old friends, and then you're like, oh, you're the healthy guy, right? It's okay. And I want to serve them best I can. But there's a lot when you start to want to get healthy, sometimes there are people.
It's letting go, isn't it?
It's letting go. And sometimes you learn new stuff, and that can rub up against people's beliefs. And
because they don't want to make those changes. They don't want to make those changes. Not ready to.
Yeah. And if you start doing things and they don't believe in it, so there's so many elements to healing and growing for health, but also like if everything you want to start your own business, there'll be you have to let go of certain friends or things. Everything's changing. If you're taking that step to take ownership and whatever you're trying to grow into, there's that side of it where you can make new friends, you lose friends, but ultimately it's about sitting in what resonates with you, and actually you will attract to you what needs to come to you. So I learned on my journey when I first started learning all this stuff, I was like, you've got to know this information. This is like life-changing. And then I had friends and family like go away.
It's like you can take a horse to water, but you can't. Yeah, it's so true. We've had that.
And then I realized, just sit in what I'm doing. And if people want me to help them and serve them,
they'll come to you.
I will. Like I will, family members or friends, I'll give you the playbook because I want to serve. But I realized, don't be shoving in their face. And that was a lesson I learned.
It does the opposite,
Yeah, because it's like...
But it's an individual's journey, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And it's so different for everyone. It's like what you're receptive to at any one time is different depending on where you're at and how you're feeling in your journey. It's like even we've kind of we had an organic cold pressed juice bar. That's how we kind of first started. And that was
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago or more now. And it's like, even since then, our journeys have changed so much and what we believe in. You know, now
I actually saw a reel the other day and it was so funny, and it was like saying, tell me you're on a health journey, you were vegan, you were this, you were that, and now you're,
and it's like we've ticked off all the, you know, and it's like, but then I think it's all through trial and error, isn't it? 100%. And then you figure out what works for you and what you're confident and happy with, but you have to kind of go through that really militant thing, and then you're kind of easy, and then you kind of
I was really militant. I did keto, carnivore. I never did
What's
vegan.
your diet like now?
So I don't have a I
don't mean as a diet, but what do you...
So it's a good point. I focus on principles.
Okay.
So I've done keto, carnivore, paleo. I did all of them. And I realized that certain principles are where it's at. So if I was to summarize it, it would be kind of the Western A Price principles of how to eat with a little bit of gaps thrown in. But also I have room to eat crap food when it serves me.
Okay.
It's not, you know, because you've got to live, you know. But then I also talk about it's the food's one thing, but it's how you interact with the food. So everything in this universe is vibration. Like I'm at home right now, so I've flown back from Portugal. I'm staying with my parents, and I'm getting some home cooked food from my mother. There's energy in that. There's love in that food, right? So what sort of food are you consuming? Are you making your own food? Where are you sourcing the food? Are you sourcing it from a farmer's market or, you know, from supermarket? Things that, again, you got to look at, again, we talked about studies versus like testimony or culture. Saying grace and sitting and being present with your food is powerful. You don't have to be religious.
And you can romanticize and enjoy it. If you are eating something that's bad, enjoy that.
Yeah,
why demonize it? Because that's only putting that negative vibration out there, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know?
So it's about being present, saying great, being thankful for the food. So whether you are connected to a higher power or you can thank the farmer, you can, you know, thank whatever you want to do. That stuff is as relevant as the food you're eating, because I could have an amazing organic meal, but if I'm like, oh, I've got 30 minutes, wolf it down whilst watching YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So
it's not being present. Principles around how I eat, when I eat, what I eat. But then also in terms of the what, it's just trying to eat as local as possible. So in Portugal, amazing farmers market. It's amazing. And the eggs are literally straight out off the farm. It's crazy. They're so good. So eating as local as possible, in season, and try to be organic, and then, you know, making things that really serve you. Meat stock. Check my socials. I'm all about the fermented foods. I mean, it's an absolute staple. It's so my son loves fermented food. He every meal he gets a little dose of it. But that is, again, part of many cultures. And it's the playoff between we need convenience in a way, because we have to try and live our lives and optimize the best we can. So it's like finding the conveniences versus doing the work. And for me, you know, some people would find a probiotic is a convenience.
Yeah.
But I've realized making your own fermented food is where it's at. And once you make it and you learn it, it's really easy, and you make it in bulk. I mean, check my socials. You'll see me doing like making sauerkraut, so you can see it's a joy. But again, that stuff is just, oh man, it's so beneficial to every element of your health, gut health, mindset. It's just, honestly, fermented food's great. But again, it's one of the 1 or 2% that compound the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. My daughter is obsessed with sauerkraut. So we buy an organic one locally to us from a health food store. But she literally, will eat a whole jar. So now I'm like, oh, maybe we actually need to make, you know, make
quite a good thing to do
exactly.
with the kids as well.
I never think to make my own, because it's one of those things that I don't know what it is with fermented. It almost gives me, there's a bit of fear around it in case it goes off, or do you know what I mean? So I'm going to check out your page on how to make it.
Very safe. Yeah. And the worst thing, there's a bit of mold that can get on there. Okay. Just scrape it off. Honestly, because
not
again, it's not a big deal.
Why have we got this fear around mold?
I hate it.
Yeah. Again, molds, it depends where we want to go there, but mold is taking things back to nature.
Yeah.
Mold, I don't think mold's this bad thing personally. like if you go into a forest, like we're breathing in mold spores right now. It's just, you'll go to the forest and see like some moldy like things getting brought. It's how you bring things back to nature. So that's what mold is. So if it's on fermented food, just whip it off. It's fine. But you can I make sauerkraut, lacto fermented carrots. So you grate the carrot. That is, oh my goodness, an absolute amazing dish. I've fermented everything over the years. Kefir's really good, but it's a lot of work, so I don't do it as much. In the UK, there's a really good brand called the Chuckling Goat, and they do fermented. So they do raw goat's milk ferment or kefir.
Okay.
So goat's milk is A2, so it's more easily digestible. And again, it's a playoff. It's in plastic bottles. There's a playoff there because again, you're gonna get benefits from it. But kefir's a bit of work because you got to like change the grains around every couple of days. So I've done it.
Again, it's finding if it's easier. Yeah. What's going to be your
So for sauerkraut, like I'm the guy who makes the fermented food in the house. So I'm just looking in the fridge. I know when we've got a jar left, and it takes 2 weeks to ferment. So then I'll go buy a load of white cabbage, and I'll carve out an hour, put a nice podcast on, and it's great.
Listen to this one soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So just get to work. Lacto fermented carrots takes 10 days to ferment, but they are so beneficial, and I wouldn't go without them.
Okay.
So when we moved to Portugal, we had to like take a load of stuff over. So you hire a van and it drives the stuff over.
Right.
And I was like to my wife, and they're like, do not put food in the boxes. I was like, I'm putting the ferments in.
No.
So I wrapped the ferments in like bubble wrap, and I make sure they were topped up, and then stuck them in, and it took 2 weeks for it. Yeah, they survived.
Okay.
Got there, and
they were ready to go.
They were ready to go on arrival, and then we've been there now 3 months, so I've now been making some locally.
Amazing.
But yeah, it definitely. And here's the thing, cost effective wise, because if you go to a farmer's market and you get like, it's a lovely jar and it'll cost you like 5 or 10 quid.
It's not cheap,
You could buy £4 worth of cabbage and you could make enough to last you 6 months.
Wow.
You just need to buy the jars and the
But
fermentation.
these are great. These little tips are great for people because we get so many messages, even in our Q&A we did earlier, for people saying, what things can I do that are affordable? So things like this are so easy to implement once you know how to do them. And they're affordable for families, aren't 100%. They? And instead of having to buy a really expensive probiotic or,
Yep. And again, meat stock is also really powerful because it's full of minerals. It's full of glutamine to heal the guts.
Okay.
Easiest way to make meat stock, buy a pressure cooker, Amazon, 80 quid. Go to farmer's market, buy 15 chicken wings, throw them in, throw in water, salt, lid on, press go for like 30 minutes. And then decant the water, let it cool, stick it in the fridge. And then when you take it out, it'll be like jelly. And then you can just heat that up and you can add it to meals. You can just have it in a mug with some salt. That is just an absolute gift. That's really, and then you can, if you're really into it, take the chicken wings and you can decant all the skin and the meats and throw that in meals as well.
Yeah.
Just make sure you remove the bone. So again, that's more it's not convenient, but you get into it, it's powerful. So,
And a pressure cooker is so quick because it's on the stove, it's like 12 hours.
The old school way.
And it stinks.
Yeah.
Everything stinks. Yeah.
But for half an hour in a pressure cooker, I need to get one.
So Dr. Natasha, my friend, she's old school. I've stayed with her in her home. She's got a farm in the north, in the Midlands. So when me and my wife were, it's about 5 years ago, I had Natasha on my show and I was like, Natasha, you've got a farm in the UK. She's like, yeah. I was like, can I come work on your farm, Natasha? And you can do volunteer work. So we went and we worked on the farm for a couple of weeks.
Amazing.
And it was amazing. So she's like old school, on the stove, boiling it for 24 hours. And you can do that. But again, I had to create ways that were efficient. So pressure cooker, you can do it in like half an hour.
Well, apparently it's like the best thing you can drink for longevity. I think Sally Morell did a book all about bone broth, didn't she?
Yep.
I've got that one.
Gut healing, longevity,
everything.
Getting your minerals in. So again, it's just an absolute staple. Yeah. And again, like it's funny in America, you see all these bone broth brands coming. It all stemmed from Sally Fallon. Yeah. And again, she wasn't just like creating anything. She was just bringing back all of these traditions that we've lived with for generations.
Yeah.
But we've lost it. We've lost it so quickly.
Yeah.
Because of how the world has developed so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's just about bringing awareness to those things. So they're things that we have every single day in our household. And again, with anything, like when I take people through my process, I say to them, you're learning habits, because once you've learned the habit, it's not difficult. It's like Jocko Willix, the kind of Navy guy. I haven't seen his work in a while, but he would post 4 a.m. with his watch and sweat on the floor. He's been working out, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. But I always say, but once it's become a habit, like if I had to do that, eventually it wouldn't be hard. You just, I'd go to bed at 7.
Yeah.
I'd get up at 4. I'd work out. So really, the hardest bit is baking in new habits and behaviors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, making fermented foods is joy. But when I first did, I was like, oh God, what am I, chop this. But once you learn it, then it's like, oh, yeah, it's fine.
It's just what you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, these things just become.
I think we're going to have to.
I know. I just looked at the time.
I know.
This is such a shame because we've actually got so many more questions,
Yeah.
and this is such an incredible conversation.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. But should we do some quick fire and finish on some quick fire?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. Okay. So, what's one detox practice that everyone should try at least once?
Taking binders.
Okay.
What's
easy.
Your favourite wellness habit?
Taking minerals every day.
Okay, there we go.
What's the first thing you do after waking up?
I visualize.
What's a common product in most homes that you would toss, get out?
Oh, pretty much everything.
I know. I think the same.
Just cleaning
Cleaning
again, you can
products,
buy
cans.
unscented versions, but cleaning products, all those like little air fresheners.
Oh, air
like-
fresheners.
yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that the fragrance that we're wired to think, oh, it smells nice. But
No,
then
they
you
give me
realise-
headaches. It makes me
yeah.
feel sick now if I can smell artificial fragrance.
It
Yeah.
smells too sweet.
Yeah. Favorite tool for supporting the liver?
Coffee enemas.
Nice.
Okay, if you had 5 minutes to reset your nervous system, what would you do?
Box breathing
Okay.
and set an intention and give thanks for something. So be grateful. So whether I believe in gods, but whether you're just being grateful,
Yeah.
be grateful for like the smallest thing or the biggest thing and be present. Appreciation appreciates. So, but in terms of I need to settle myself, box breathing, if you do that for 5 minutes, you'd be great. But those 3 things, if you stack them all in 5,
Yeah.
you'd be great.
I love that.
And then one book which has impacted your life the most.
Nourishing Traditions.
Yay.
100%. I love that.
Oh, Adam, thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
has
And
been-
where can people
yeah.
find you as well?
So they can find me on social media at Ideal Day Adam on Instagram. And I also have a podcast. It's called the Ideal Day Podcast on all the major platforms. Check it out. And it's detox, but everything else, health and wellness, mindset, everything to be a happy, healthy human. So you can check that out as well.
Amazing.
Amazing. Adam,
Thank you, guys. It's been great.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you.